Hello, welcome. This is Roland. You know what's a very useful thing to do is to sit quietly and become aware of the fact that you exist. You sit very quietly. You can become aware of your body. For example, as I'm sitting here now, I'm aware of my hands. My hands are on on my chair, the arms of my chair. And as I'm sitting here, I feel my hands. And when you're aware of a body, part of your body, it becomes a little bit tingly, a little bit warm. So I'm aware of my hands on the armrests of my chair. And then it seems to follow that I become aware of my feet for some reason. I become aware of my feet and they become tingly warm. So now I'm aware of my hands and I'm aware of my feet. You might try that. Sitting in a chair. Of course you can do it laying down, any position. Become aware of your hands and aware of your feet. Aware of your whole body. Okay, but start with your hands. Or, if it's easier for you, start with one hand. Start with your right hand. Become aware of it. Aware of your thumb, aware of your... And a way to help you to be aware of your hand so that you don't go floating away in the thought stream. You know how thoughts come up and then you're floating away with them? A way to help keep you anchored in the present. See, that's what you're doing. You're anchoring yourself in the present, which is very important. A way to anchor yourself in the present is become aware of one finger at a time. So, for example, become aware of your thumb. Then become aware of your first finger. Feel your first finger. Notice your first finger exists. Just be aware of your first finger. Now be aware of your second finger. Just gently notice your second finger. Then gently notice your third finger. Now notice your fourth finger. See how it becomes a little tingly? Now become aware of your thumb again. See? That helps to anchor you in the present. That's very useful exercise. And then you can add to it. You can add to it closing your eyes and looking at the inside of your eyelids. Okay? And just close your eyes. I'm closing my eyes now. And I'm looking at the inside of my eyelids. And what do I see? I see light, little bits of light. You could try it yourself. Try it right now. As I speak, close your eyes and you see the little patterns of light, little pixels of light, like a warm glow, or little patterns of light on the inside of your eyelid. Okay? And at the same time, being aware of your hand or your hands. And when you do that, it's very simple, very easy, and it's effortless. You don't need to apply any effort. As you're gently aware of your hand or hands, and you're gently looking at the inside of your eyelids, seeing little patterns of light, that you are now in the present. You are in the present, and not floating away with the thought stream. Okay? So I'm going to stop this little exercise right now and then talk about it a little bit. Okay? Basically, that is the easy meditation. And it's a very powerful little tool that can be of great help to some people. Now, the problem that we all have, well, we have a lot of problems. People have a lot of problems, but we want to keep it simple. See, a lot of the problems that people have, the issues that people have, are the result of a cause, and there was a cause for that, and a cause for that, and a cause for that, all the way back to an original beginning cause. Okay? And so what the final symptom that you see is the result of a long chain of often of mistakes, wrong reactions, misbeliefs, wrong timing, etc. A long chain. The final thing that you see, that's the result of that long chain. Well, what do we tend to do? We tend to, that gets our attention, okay? And then we do with it what we've done with everything in our life. We've struggled with it. We tried to make it better. We tried to hide it. We tried to cover it up. We tried to ignore it. And then when it got worse, then we struggled with it. See? We went to experts to for them to help us with it, and often they just made things worse. And we became angry with it, that symptom, that issue. We became angry. Or we tried to blame someone. See, then we tried to blame someone. Tried to blame the government, or blame our parent, or blame our husband or wife, blame ourselves, blame God. See, try to blame someone. So we become so guilty for blaming and resenting that we end up turning it on ourselves, that we blame ourselves. See, well, that's not the answer either. The answer is to look at the issue with some mental distance, with some objectivity. Just look at it, just observe it. Don't struggle with it. See, struggling doesn't help. It never helps. It just makes things worse. And resenting yourself or anyone else doesn't help either, nor just getting angry with it. It doesn't do any good. See? So what you do is you just observe it. There it is, and observe it. Okay? And the same with any other issue, any other thing in life. You observe it. Okay? Now, when you learn to observe things objectively, okay, then what you are observing them in the light. See that light in the present? There's a light from God. As a matter of fact, when you look at the inside of your eyelids, when you see little patterns of light, that's actually light from God. Little computer data, little pixels of light from on high. And we were meant to live in that light, which we do. That light is all around you, God's light, God's truth, God's presence even. But what we've done is we've been separate from it. Okay? Now, you were born separate from it. You were born close to it, however. You were very close to God when you were a little child. That's the closest you've ever been when you were a little child. Okay? That's why you had brightness and joy and discovered many things, and you knew things in your heart. See? Because you were very close to God, but you fell away from it. You became angry and excited and emotionalized, and the world was very distracting. And soon you were looking out in the world for things, for friends, for support, for reassurance, for popularity, for knowledge, for all kinds of things. You looked out there. But when you did, you forgot about what you knew in your heart, so you lost touch with within. But see, you were also born close to God, but separate. That's our condition because of Adam. Adam was close to God in paradise, and then he blew it, and he lost it. And so ever since, the human race has been separate from God. However, provisions have been made. God has made provisions and found a way for those who love him, or who are destined to love him, for them to refine him. And then it's even more beautiful. See, it's even more beautiful. So all the things that go wrong and all the issues and all the, it all pales in comparison to finally finding God. And remember, a lady came to Christ one time, and then she began washing his feet. You remember that? With some expensive oil. I forget what kind it was, myrrh or frankincense or one of those expensive oils. And the disciples said, look at her. She's wasting all that money washing, your feet. And I think she was drying his feet with her hair. See? And Christ said, who is forgiven much loves much. See? She had had been forgiven of much by him. And so she was grateful and full of love. Okay? So if things haven't been working out, but then you find God, then it all, you know something? The day comes when you won't even remember all those things that used to cry and moan about and everything. Now it'll be like it was nothing. Just a very faint memory at the most. So why don't you get started? The journey starts with the little meditation. Starts with that, learning to become still and refine your spiritual roots. Become grounded in the present instead of floating away in thoughts. Oh yes, so what I wanted to say is, in our separation from God and not paying attention to his light of truth, which we know it as conscience when we stray from it. So it's always there. See, he hasn't abandoned you. See, God has not left you. He hasn't abandoned you. It's not true that he doesn't care. And the proof that he cares, the truth that he's there, is that his conscience is always there pursuing you, which is his light. What you feel as conscience is his light, his goodness, his rightness, his wisdom. See, gently knocking on the door of your mind saying, hey, guy, you messed up, or hey, lady, you messed up there. See? Well, if you would stop resenting the light and stop trying to always be right yourself, see, that's another aspect of playing God. First, you play God by trying to solve all your own problems, and then the second thing you do is you reject God's light so you can be right, because you see you're playing God again. Why don't you just be a regular person and sit still and see what God's light has to say wordlessly to you? See, so it'll begin to show you your errors. Okay, and then don't resent seeing them. And don't resent the light. That's a big mistake. Just see your errors with regret. Regret the wrong whatever it was, whether you hated your dad or hated your mom or were cruel to your brother or cheated someone, whatever you've done. Okay? Which includes also fleeing from conscience. So you're guilty for that too. Fleeing from God's light. So just see that, realize that you're wrong. You've always been wrong. So you just didn't want to admit it. So now just sit quietly and admit it. And then you become a friend of God. He just wants you to see you're wrong and be sorry, and then it's over. See? Then the sky is blue and the birds sing and joy returns, and then you realize that you've been forgiven. But it all starts with a little meditation. What a small beginning. What a simple, humble beginning. Very simple, very, very humble. And it could do you a world of good. Now, it won't work. It doesn't work for everyone. First of all, some people say they don't believe me. That's their, see. They hear what's true and what is something that's actually good for them. They don't believe it. See, or they're not interested in it. There's nothing exciting in it for their ego. There's no thrill. There's no high. There's no rush. See, there's no money to be made. So they're not interested. See, they'd rather go play the lottery or bet on a sports team or go shopping or check their text messages or, see, something. Go to Starbucks and get a Frappuccino, smoke a cigarette or smoke a marijuana. They'd rather do something else. But some people hear and they don't doubt it. The doubt thoughts will still be there. See, the spirit of doubt is always there. It was in the Garden of Eden. And it's still there. It's always there. See, God is always there. It's like, you remember the cartoon where Bugs Bunny, like Daffy Duck or Elmer Fudd, okay, was there. And then all of a sudden there was a little angel on one shoulder and the devil on the other. Okay? And the devil was telling Daffy Duck to do something wrong and the angel was telling him not to. Well, that's kind of how it is, actually. See, there's a battle going on between good and evil in the heavens. It's going on. Okay, and so then vying for men's and ladies' souls. Okay, and you are just a pawn, see, and you have to decide, and at some point you can decide, go one way or the other, see. At some point you go one way or the other. Well, so what was I saying? Oh yeah, so, but I said doubt thoughts are always going to be there. Oh, the meditation is no good, what's the use, it's just a waste of time, Roland doesn't know what he's talking about, you know, blah, 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 blah. It's just, there they are, it's always the same old story. Or they say, this is not for you, you know, you're above this sort of thing, you're too smart, you're too advanced, you've tried it before, it doesn't work, blah, 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 blah. See? There it is. So what are you going to do? You have to do what remember I said, just stand back and observe. Just see it. Don't struggle with it. Don't believe it. Don't disbelieve it. Just observe it. See? Observe those doubt thoughts out of existence. And then drag yourself. Go to thefreemeditation.com. Okay? thefreemeditation.com. And let's do the meditation, practice it. Drag yourself to a room and sit in a chair with your iPhone or your laptop or your computer, or whatever you have, your tablet, and listen to the meditation and practice it, even as we did at the beginning of this one, remember? Or watch this video again. Watch it again and practice it as I talk about it at the beginning of the video, see? And see if it works. So, like I said, some people, it's not for them. And it just won't work for them because they're not willing to see the truth. They don't want to see the truth. That's the last thing they want to see. Some people are so in denial. See, they don't want to. They just don't want to. So it's not going to work for them. But some people are ready, especially after a lot of suffering. See, suffering softens the soul, makes you more soulful. Then you're ready. See, well, if you're ready, then the meditation might be just the thing for you. My name is Roland.